Welcome to the Growth Class. I'm Phil Masiello, and today we're going to look at 5 scaling mistakes that will kill your brand. And here's the brutal truth. Most startups don't die because they weren't good enough. They die because they tried to grow before they were ready. I know that's hard to believe, but it's the truth. I've seen it firsthand, and founders raise millions of dollars, maybe even get some traction, but then they crash and burn. And it's usually not because of a bad product or a lazy team. It's because they scaled wrong. So let's get into it. I'm not just throwing out theory here. I'm showing you real companies that blew up with millions of dollars in the bank and how you can avoid becoming the next cautionary tale. For example, you've probably heard of Quibi, right? They raised $2 billion. They were founded by a Hollywood legend and a tech titan, and still dead within a year. Why? No product market fit. Or Fab.com. They burned through $300 million trying to scale a flash sale designer site globally, only to vanish as fast as they rose. Why? Because they went growth broke. And we've got more companies that imploded because they didn't systematize, they hired the wrong people, or they let their culture rot from the inside out. But I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to give you the real playbook, because if you understand these 5 mistakes and build around them, your company won't just grow, it'll become unshakable. So whether you're just launching, scaling your first million, or trying to keep your growth from breaking everything, this video is for you. Because scaling doesn't start with spending more. It starts with thinking smarter. It starts with building your foundation the right way before you ever hit the gas. So let's dive into the first deadly mistake that even billion-dollar founders made. Mistake number 1, scaling before you've nailed product market fit. This one is deadly because it often looks like success. You're raising money, you're hiring, you're building, but none of it matters if the market doesn't truly want what you're selling. This is why my team and I preach over and over again to our clients to focus on product market fit before all else. Find out if people are willing to pay for your product before you think about scaling. But this, to me, is the poster child for this mistake. Quibi, founded by Jeffrey Katzenberg and Meg Whitman, 2 incredibly successful executives. They raised $2 billion before they even launched. The idea was quick bites of premium video content for your phone, short shows with big stars. Sounded genius. But here's the kicker. They scaled before proving people actually wanted it. They built the tech, they shot the content, they launched the platform, they signed the stars, all before validating the core assumption. Do people want to watch short-form, mobile-only premium shows in a paid app? It turns out they didn't. The product didn't fit how people consumed content. It wasn't TikTok. It wasn't Netflix. It was something in between, and nobody needed it. They thought money could replace market pull. It couldn't. They had everything. They had money, they had talent, they had media attention, except for the one thing that actually mattered: demand. So what's the fix? Don't hit the gas until you've proven market fit. I preach this over and over again to entrepreneurs. Find people who are willing to buy your product again and again. And that doesn't mean a few nice comments or a couple of beta testers. It means consistent usage, organic growth, people coming back without you chasing them, real feedback from paying customers. It means your product is solving a problem so well, people are telling others about it without you asking. Product market fit is the foundation. Without it, scaling just accelerates the crash. So before you add fuel, make sure your engine actually runs, and not just in your pitch deck. For those of you who think money is the limiting factor when starting a business, Quibi showed 2 billion reasons why it isn't. Let's move to the second killer mistake, one that burns fast-growing brands alive. It's what I call growing broke. When you scale so fast, you burn through cash faster than revenue can catch up. And one of the best cautionary tales, Fab.com. Fab was a design-focused flash sale site, trendy, bold, fast-growing. They started as a social network for the gay community, but that didn't work. They pivoted to designer home goods, and boom, they were riding the hype wave. They raised over $330 million, had a $1 billion valuation, and at one point were adding hundreds of thousands of users a day. But here's where it fell apart. They scaled without discipline. They opened international offices, built out massive warehouse infrastructure, expanded into new verticals, all before locking in substantial revenue. At their peak, they were spending $14 million a month on operations, most of it on logistics and expansion. In other words, they were growing for growth's sake, not because the numbers made sense. It was flashy, but it wasn't sustainable. And when their flashy user growth slowed and the customer acquisition got expensive, the business couldn't sustain itself. They went from unicorn to fire sale in 2 years. So what's the fix? Never confuse growth with health. Before you scale, build a cash flow model. Know your burn rate. Understand your margins. Ask, if we 5x demand, can our team and systems actually handle it profitably? Also, don't let investor money make you lazy. The best founders treat capital like oxygen, not confetti. Every dollar should extend your runway and increase efficiency, not buy the illusion of scale. You want to grow lean, you want to grow smart, you want to grow profitably, not just loud, because hype fades, but cash flow keeps you alive every month. The third mistake is a silent killer, not building systems, automation, and documentation from day one. If your company depends on a heroic effort every single day just to function, that's not scale, that's chaos. And chaos doesn't scale. No one learned that lesson harder than Zenefits. Zenefits was a rocket ship. They were offering a free HR platform that helped small businesses manage benefits, onboarding, payroll. Their growth was explosive. They were valued at $4.5 billion within 2 years. But behind the scenes, total mess. They didn't have the right systems, they didn't have the right controls, and they definitely didn't document processes. At one point, they even built software to help salespeople cheat a mandatory insurance licensing exam just to keep up with demand. It was a house of cards. Eventually, the regulators got involved. Lawsuits piled up. The founder was forced to resign. And that $4.5 billion valuation, it disappeared faster than it came. Why? Because they scaled on hustle, not infrastructure. And hustle can get you off the ground, but it won't keep you flying. So what's the fix? Start acting like a bigger company before you become one. That means document every repeatable process, automate everything that's repetitive and manual, build internal tools early, not when it's already too late, implement basic compliance and risk checks, especially if you're in a regulated industry. Train your team on how things work, not just what to do. Systems don't slow you down. They free you. They make your business scalable, reliable, and less dependent on any single person. Hustle gets you out of the garage, but systems keep you on the road when things get fast and keep you out of court when things go wrong. Mistake number 4, hiring the wrong people. Now, this one's tricky because early on, you're desperate to fill seats. I know. I've been there. But who you hire, especially in the early stages, can either build the rocket or blow it up. 2 big examples of this, Jawbone and Theranos. Let's start with Jawbone. They were early to the wearable tech game, ahead of Fitbit, ahead of Apple Watch. They had over $900 million in funding, but they made one critical hiring mistake. They hired flashy resumes instead of operators who could execute. They brought in execs who looked great on paper, but didn't understand hardware, supply chains, consumer tech at scale. And when things got hard, there was no leadership glue. No one knew how to fix the problems on the ground. That disconnect killed them. Now, Theranos, beyond the fraud, one of the biggest problems was its hiring culture. Elizabeth Holmes hired people based on loyalty, not competence. Anyone who challenged her was pushed out. Truth didn't matter. Skill didn't matter. Just blind faith in the vision. And that's how bad decisions get baked into a business. So what's the fix? Hire slowly, fire quickly. And above all, hire for the phase you're in, not the phase you dream of. In the early stages, you need builders, people who can roll up their sleeves and solve problems creatively. Later, you can bring in scale operators, but don't reverse the order. Also, culture fit isn't a soft metric. It's survival. If someone doesn't align with your values, they'll derail momentum, even if they're talented. So hire for grit, hire for adaptability, and hire people who tell you the truth, even when it's inconvenient. Because the wrong hire doesn't just cost you money, it costs you time and trust. People used to tell me always hire people who are smarter than me. And I think that's a bunch of crap. Then you have a bunch of smart people bumping into each other and not getting anything done. You want to hire people aligned with the vision you have for the company and the stage that the company is in. The final mistake, and this one can rot your company from the inside out, it's building a toxic culture. You can have money, you can have momentum, but if your team hates coming to work, you're on borrowed time. The most well-known case, Uber under Travis Kalanick. Now, don't get me wrong, Uber was a monster success in terms of growth, but that growth came at a massive internal cost. The culture was aggressive, it was cutthroat, it was fueled by a win-at-all-cost mentality. There were reports of sexual harassment, HR cover-ups, internal spying on competitors, and an almost cult-like loyalty to Kalanick. It got so bad that the company was forced to investigate itself. Eventually, investors had to step in and force Kalanick to resign, not because the product failed, but because the culture became a liability. So here's the thing. If your culture is either your greatest asset or your biggest risk. So what's the fix? Define your values early and then actually live by them. Culture isn't a ping pong table or free snacks. It's how people treat each other when things go wrong. It's how leadership communicates. It's how decisions are made. You build culture in the micro decisions, who you promote, who you tolerate, what you reward, and what you ignore. If you let toxicity slide because someone is a high performer, you're telling your team that results matter more than integrity. And that's how companies rot. The strongest teams aren't just aligned on goals, they're aligned on behavior. So build a culture you'd want to work in, even if you weren't the founder. Because if you don't shape your culture, it'll shape you. And if you get it wrong, no product, no funding, no growth strategy can save you. So let's recap the 5 biggest scaling mistakes that can kill even the fastest growing brands. Number 1, scaling before product market fit, like Quibi. Growing broke by mismanaging cash flow, like Fab. Not building systems, automation, and documentation, like Zenefits. Hiring the wrong people, like Jawbone and Theranos. Letting a toxic culture take root, like Uber. Each one of these businesses had massive potential and in some cases, massive funding, but they all fell apart because they scaled wrong. Now here's the truth. Mistakes are part of the game, but preventable mistakes, that's where founders win or lose. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be aware. And if you've got the right frameworks and the right mindset, you can scale smart, not just fast. If you're a founder in that growth stage and you want guidance, not hype, hit the like button, subscribe, drop a comment about where you're at your journey. I read every single one. And if you're looking for more help scaling the right way, contact me in the link in the comments below, and my team and I will help you build a brand that lasts. Remember, scale doesn't come from raising more money. It comes from making smarter decisions. I'll see you in the next one.